I don't need like to get it poppin', but these bitches in my business come me out to choosing violence. If you see me out in public, you don't know me, keep it silent. In the bedroom, I be screaming, but outside I keep it quiet. You know what I'm saying?
Hey guys, it's Via. I'm back. So today's video is about first jobs. Since it's back to school season, a lot of y'all are now old enough to start working, which is great, which is good, which you should start doing. If y'all don't know, I started working when I was 14. That's because working was allowed in my state at 14 and my mom forced me to, but not a lot of people know how easy it is to get a job and the resources that they have and also the things that they can do to earn money. So this video is going to be tips for you for your first ever job. We're going to talk about applications. So applications, you don't want to use Indeed. You actually never want to use Indeed for applying to jobs because 9 times out of 10 you will not get that job. Indeed is really good for knowing what jobs are open, but what you want to do is you're going to make an Indeed account. You're going to go on Indeed. You're going to figure out what jobs are open that you qualify for, and then you're going to go on that jobs' website. You're going to scroll down to careers and you're going to make an application. The reason you're not going to apply through Indeed is because although a lot of companies will list job opportunities on Indeed, these companies aren't checking Indeed, or Indeed will not update when the job is not taking any applications anymore. So after you submit these applications, what you're going to want to do is call them. So after you go through the website of the company, you submit your application, you're going to find the phone number for that specific address, that specific one that you're interested in working at. You're going to call, you're going to ask for a hiring manager or to be forwarded to one, and that's when you're going to say, hello, I submitted an application a week ago or 2 weeks ago or a couple days ago. What you're going to do is make it seem like you've been waiting, and when it seems like you've been waiting and you call to check in, it makes you seem eager for said job. So you're going to call and you're going to say, hey, I've submitted an application last week and I was really wondering if I can get an interview. Now, a lot of the time this works for being able to set up an interview a lot faster than just waiting to hear back from them. Now, to actually get the job and what you should say in the interview, this is what the next portion of this video is going to be about. So y'all are looking at somebody who has never been told no to a job. Never once have I been told no to a job. I was fired once when I was 14, but it was my first job. That job was not for me, and then they asked for me to come back a couple months later while I was at my other job because the store owner said that the manager was corrupt, which I already knew, but I did not end up going back. Anyways, getting fired is okay. Getting declined a job is okay, but I'm just letting y'all know you're talking to somebody here, me, who has never been declined a job. So basically, this is what you're gonna do. By the way, I'm 17 and I've successfully had 5 jobs. You're gonna go to your interview. You're not gonna be honest with these people at all. You're really not. I know a lot of the time they say that honesty is key when you're in an interview or when you're talking to somebody above you, but the thing is, when you're in an interview, you want to say things that are going to please their ears and say things that they want to hear. Let's say, for instance, they ask you, oh, if somebody is arguing and getting aggressive, how are you going to de-escalate the situation? What you're not going to say, and you're probably thinking is, oh, I don't know how to de-escalate this situation. Oh, honestly, I would probably fight with her back. Oh, honestly, I would probably this and that. No. We're going to use a trained response here. We're going to say, I would use my skills that I've used in other places to de-escalate the situation, and if I can't do it myself, then I will call for a higher up or for help from somebody else. That's the answer for a question like that. Or, oh, why do you want to work at this company? Then you're going to come up with a detailed response about said company. When I first started working at Chipotle was my first food service job, and I was asked, why do you want to work for Chipotle? And I said, well, I'm Hispanic, I love Hispanic food, and I really want to get better into my culture by learning how to cook Hispanic food, and I also really just like Chipotle. I like the brand, I like what Chipotle stands for. Mind you, I don't even eat Mexican food. I don't know what Chipotle stands for. I don't know anything about that. And then I ended up working there for a year. They're gonna ask you questions that seem like the questions are in depth and seem like you really should have studied and prepared. But if you know the right response for said questions, they're really easy to answer. So you're never gonna say that you have no experience or that it's your first job. What you're gonna say is that either, it depends how old you are, because if you're 14, it can very well be your first job. You can lie and say that your parents had a job that was similar to that job for you. So you want to work at Chipotle, so you want to work at any fast food restaurant, put on your resume that your parents had a fast food restaurant or they had a restaurant and you were getting experience from there during your childhood. There's a whole lot of lying when it comes to getting jobs, and it's completely legal and okay. As long as you're not claiming to work at actual corporations and then making it seem as though if your current job called these people and then these people said, we don't know who that is, that's different. If the job description lists, for instance, being able to use people skills, being able to communicate, you can say things like, oh yeah, well, I was in school, I showed my skills of being able to communicate when making group projects or when consulting with my teachers about questions with my grades. You can really just say anything, but don't leave these people with any type of, I don't know, I'm not prepared, it's my first time. Don't do that. I also want to note that in a lot of states in the US, jobs cannot give bad references. So say this isn't your first job and you're watching this video because you want to get another job because you got fired from your first one. Jobs, you should look up which state you're in because this may not apply to you, but in the state I'm in, Virginia, it's illegal for a job to give a bad reference on you. So say I got fired from a place, but I don't have a lot of experience working, so I put that place on my resume, right? Or when my job that I'm applying for asked for the last place and they asked for a phone number, say my job were to call that last place that I worked, my last employer, and asked like, hey, you had Olivia, right? And then they say yes. They legally cannot say that they fired me because this, and that I was a bad employee, yada, yada. They cannot give a negative reference on you. What they can say, either we can't speak on this at this time, we're busy, or some jobs will be nice enough to give you a good review. Some jobs will say, oh, well, yeah, she demonstrated these skills, but, you know, it just wasn't a good fit. So now we're at the stage where we got the job. This is what's going to apply to you when you got the job. These are rules for when you got the job. After working 5 jobs, I have some advice to tell y'all that other people are not going to tell you. 1, your coworkers are not your friends. They are not your friends. I repeat, these people are not your friends. They do not really like you. It may seem like they like you. Some people do make genuine connections with their coworkers, but don't go in thinking that, and don't go in immediately and thinking that. Because a lot of the time, people are thinking out of competition, and they know, especially if the job has like a strict program where people get fired or people get strikes easy, your coworkers will wait for you to mess up or wait for you to get vulnerable with them and tell them that you messed up, and then go and tell your manager. And then just like that, you have no job. So that's one thing. Don't be bestie with your coworkers. Don't tell your coworkers everything. The next thing, never date your coworkers. Never date your coworkers and never date your managers. The rules do differ across corporations on who can date who. In some places, managers can date smaller employees. A lot of places that managers cannot date managers, but regardless, I'm going to tell you based off of perspective, don't date anybody at work. It never ends up good. It's always a proximity crush. You know, you're around them all the time for 8 hours a day, and then you're like, oh, he's cute, or she's cute, or she's really attractive. I never noticed this. Yeah, it's because you're around her so much. She's not actually that attractive. You're just in her face constantly. So really, we're just not gonna date our coworkers at all. It never ends up good, and I will admit to you guys, I've done it twice, and by the grace of God, it didn't get me fired, but one of the guys ended up getting fired, and the other guy ended up transferring stores. I never got fired for it, but it's just really not a good idea. It can end up really toxic, and then people can end up in your business that never needed to be in your business. So I'd say don't eat where you shit at. Don't shit where you eat at. In other words, don't date people at work. All right, y'all, so the next thing I'm gonna say is to know your rights and responsibilities at work. A lot of workplaces come with kind of a handbook, or sometimes you'll even find a big poster in the back, and this poster is most likely linked to the EOC, and this is basically a place where if you feel like you're being treated unfairly at work, if you feel like somebody is bothering you at work, if you feel like somebody's harassing you, somebody called you a slur, or something happened that you want to document in case it gets even worse, these are the people that you want to talk to. What's going to happen is you are going to contact these people, corporate or the EOC, and you're going to tell them everything that happens if things are happening that you're not comfortable with. When you document these things and you don't just go to a manager about it, this is when certain rules get put into place where you're actually being protected. Because sometimes, say there's bias in the workplace and you report one manager but the other manager likes them, now they can retaliate against you and fire you, or they can cut your hours, and that's illegal. So we don't want that. But if you ever have a problem going on in the workplace, filing a grievance, filing a complaint, journaling it, recording it, writing it down, and then immediately reporting it is the best way to go if you want to be able to keep the integrity of the job without being at risk of being continually harassed or being retaliated against for speaking up for yourself. Now, this is for people with strict parents or with situations going on at home. This is just some big sister advice. If you are looking to work, you're looking to find a job, but your parents will not open you a bank account, that is okay. Because this is what we're gonna do, okay? You cannot have your own Cash App account as a minor, right? But if you have a sponsor for that account, you can. Your sponsor has to be 18 years of age, but nowhere in Cash App's terms and conditions do they say that your sponsor has to be an immediate family member, a family member period, or a parent or a guardian. As long as you know somebody 18 and they agree to put their social in and sponsor your Cash App, you're good, because Cash App will then give you an account number and a routing number for your direct deposit from work to go into if your parents don't want to open you a bank account and for you to start working. This can also be used if you don't want your parents to be able to track your spending. Just if you want another place to put your money, if you already do have a bank account, open a Cash App account. I'd say have an 18-year-old friend, because we're in high school. Well, I'm assuming the audience to this video is in high school, so have one of your senior 18-year-old friends sponsor your account, and then by there, you basically have another bank account. Keep in mind that this person can limit your spending. They can see everything you spend on, and if they want to, they can put limits, they can do things, but if you're picking a friend, it's not likely they'll do that. It is sometimes advised that you use a parent or a guardian for your Cash App, but it's not mandatory. They don't make you prove it. All they make you prove is that that person's over 18. So, if you're trying to avoid financial abuse, that's a great idea. Another tip for your first job is to never lie on those initial papers when you're being hired. Those tax forms, those identity forms, those IRS forms, you never want to lie on them. I know a couple people who have lied and said that they were Hispanic when they weren't, lied and said that they were white when they weren't, or lied and said that they were receiving food stamps or whatever, and that does not go well for you. The cops will come to your house. So I'd say just don't lie on those forms. Even if you want to lie to the rest of the world about your identity, and let's say you want to tell everybody you're Mexican, don't put on that paper that you're Mexican if you're not really Mexican, because there will be questions when they find out. Last piece of advice that I'm gonna give about your first job is to never be somebody that they think that they can take advantage of. Never be the person that they feel like they can call you in on all your off days and that you always show up. Or the person that when somebody asks you to cover their shift that you'll always do it. Don't be that person. Because then they don't really look at you as a person, they look at you as a worker that has nothing else better to do with their life. And then if you try to create any boundary, they will fire you. So I'd say don't do that. I don't remember if I said the last thing was the last advice, but this is the last advice. If your job has a union, join that union. A union is basically a group that workers made to be able to have the rights and to be able to have certain resources due to having that job. And it's basically a labor group, right? So what's going to happen is you're probably going to spend, like, they're going to take it out of your paycheck. But once you sign up for the union, for instance, my union that I'm in at work, they take $15 out of my paycheck every single month. And it's basically like job insurance, right? So what happens is, say my employer wanted to fire me, they would have to go through the union and the union would defend me and most likely be able to keep my job. The union can also put me through college. The union can make everything discounted for me, like moving or medical bills. The union can provide car insurance. It can provide discounts for new and used cars. The union can provide vision insurance. This is my union, by the way. Other unions are different, and once you are no longer in the union, because say you got fired or you quit, they will reimburse you for all the money that they took out of your checks. So I'd say join the union. If you have a unionized job, I'd say join it. You can also get paid more. Alright y'all, that's it for today's video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the post notifications, and let me know if you learned anything down in the comments that you're going to use for your first ever job or your second or third job and you were just trying to get advice on jobs because you haven't been having so much luck. Let me know. Once again, my name's Via. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.